If you have been putting off hiring a virtual assistant, maybe because of paperwork, cost, not knowing how to assign work to someone, these hesitations are valid, especially if you are hiring your first VA. Look, over the last 5 or 6 years, I've worked with over 30 virtual assistants on different tasks, different technical work, and different workloads, also from various companies. And when it comes down to it, when you're hiring your first VA, we're often worried about the wrong things. The task, the cost, what if it doesn't work out? Today, I'm walking you through exactly how Time Etc. works, what the plan costs, what kind of talent you could realistically expect, and a 3-part framework for getting your first VA up and running without the stress. Let's get into it. Now, before we dive in, I have partnered with Time Etc. on this video as an affiliate. If you do decide to get started with Time Etc., click that first link down below in the description. The more people that use it, the more likely I can work with the brand to get a discount code and get you a better offer. So definitely use that link down below when you get started. Alright, so let's talk about what is Time Etc. Time Etc. is a US-based virtual assistant service that's been around since 2007. And the model is simple. You subscribe to a monthly plan of a set number of hours. Then they will match you with a dedicated assistant or a group of assistants, and those assistants will handle tasks for you. This could be as simple as managing your calendar, all the way to as complex as working with you on more technical aspects of your business. As a company, they vet and manage all their assistants. So this is a really important point. You're not hiring someone off of a job board. You're paying a service that is going to source, manage, and support the talent on your behalf. I'm going to explain why that distinction matters more in a minute. Some key features about Time Etc. versus some other virtual assistant companies out there. First, every Time Etc. assistant is based in the United States. Personally, my own team is about 90% international, and I have zero problems with that. But if you do need someone for tasks where English is really gonna matter, like reading or writing emails on your behalf, or communicating with your clients in a specific way, or understanding the nuance of cultural differences and knowing how America or Western cultures work, this is a really meaningful differentiator. Now, this is not just a preference, this is a functional advantage. Let's say you hire a virtual assistant independently from a job board, Upwork, a referral, something like that. But what ends up happening if it doesn't work out? You basically get stuck, or you're gonna have to let them go and start the whole process over. Now, I don't say that to be flippant with the people you're working with, but more so to be able to find the right person and the right fit for your company, especially when you don't have the bandwidth to have an entire HR department do this for you, especially if you are hiring your first or one of your first virtual assistants. This is gonna remove the single biggest psychological barrier to get started. Personally, and I might touch on this more later in the video, when I have hired a new virtual assistant for a role, I have often found that once they get into the role, we may find that there are other aspects of the role that I didn't originally think about where they could be a great fit for, or when we find the full scope of the role, someone else might be a better fit. And having a company like Time Etc. that can help you fill that gap quickly and easily is really valuable. Next, every client has a dedicated point of contact. You will have a dedicated client happiness manager. Now, their role is to check in, make sure the relationship is going great, and if something were to happen, you need an adjustment to your hours, a credit, or a new assistant or an additional assistant, they will respond and help you work all of that out. With that said though, in my personal experience, I would say you have to lead the way. They'll ask you if it's going well, but if something isn't working, you need to be the one to bring it up. And so the accountability is a bit on you to clarify what your needs are and make sure they're being met. Next, let's talk about rollover hours. On the 20-hour plan and above, any unused hours will roll roll over into the next month. That means a slow month doesn't mean money wasted. You are building a buffer for a busier period ahead. And this will also remove the pressure of trying to use up your hours before the billing cycle resets. Now, I've lightly touched on it, but let's talk about the multiple assistants at no extra cost. You could add additional assistants even on the smallest plan. The hours simply get divided among them. When I was at my peak usage with time, etc., I had a custom plan at about 60 hours a month, and I split that across 3 to 4 assistants working in different areas of my business at the same time. That flexibility is genuinely useful for small teams with varied needs. Now, when it comes to the quality of work and the level of expertise that you could hire with virtual assistants, the best way I could say this is that this is not the top tier virtual assistant like executive assistant tier, and it is definitely not the bottom. You're getting something around maybe like mid tier or a little bit lower, but let me also clarify and go a little bit deeper. I have hired virtual assistants who have helped with email management, my calendar, simple things like that. But I've also hired virtual assistants with time, etc., that are much more technical. I trained them on very specific SEO and technical work, and they executed it flawlessly. My process would often be I would bring someone in, see their experience, how they would handle the task, and probably in a week or two, I would know if they were the right fit. I think I've heard it said before online that you do find a rock star in your business pretty quickly. So if things aren't working out right away, or you feel like key details are getting missed again and again, that is your cue to chat with your dedicated manager to find a new assistant that can better handle the workload. And I don't know if other business owners experience this, but I have often found that the second hire is the better hire, likely due to what we mentioned earlier, that you are still trying to scope what the full role is. Now, let's talk about their pricing. Time, etc. is decently priced against some of these other companies out there, and they have 4 main plans. Their first plan is 10 hours that starts at $390 a month. This is perfect if you have never hired a virtual assistant, you don't know how much work it's gonna take, you're worried about them using too many hours. This is a great way to get in, experience the service, start learning how to delegate, and handing off 1 or 2 tasks at a time. Just note that unused hours do not roll over in this tier. Next up is the 20-hour plan that starts at $760 a month. And just to be clear, when I'm talking about these plans, you get 20 hours over the course of a month. So if they use 2 hours one week and then 10 hours another week and then 6 hours another week and 2 hours another week, that is totally fine. Now, this is the sweet spot for most solo operators and small business owners. With the added benefit that unused hours will roll over here, it's gonna take a lot of the pressure off. Plus, with the ability to hire more assistants with this same plan, you could have 2 to 3 assistants using these 20 hours a month. Next, they have the 40-hour plan that is $1,480 a month, and this takes your hourly cost down to $37 an hour. And this is probably realistically where splitting hours across multiple assistants doing really important consistent tasks for your business probably makes the most sense. Next, their 4th plan is 60 hours that cost $2,160 a month, which takes your hourly cost down to $36. And the best part of this is that you could start with the smaller plan and over time upgrade your plan according to your needs. You could also easily downgrade when you need to if you know a slow period is coming, and if you do need to add hours within the month above what you already purchased, you could do that as well. I forget exactly how the pricing works for this, but it is very comparable to the current pricing you see on your screen. Now, a few things to note. There is no setup fee. You could cancel or change your plan at any time, and they also offer a lifetime satisfaction guarantee. Now, just think of this. You could take on 2 or 3 virtual assistants through one company, through one payment a month, and be able to have technical and specific needs fulfilled in your business. Plus, if you need more hours, you could easily just add in more hours. A lot of what we just mentioned are additional charges with other companies. Either they force you to pay a quarterly or a yearly subscription to even get good pricing. They also have a setup fee, and they also end up charging more per per hour. And just to put context around this, a full-time executive assistant is gonna run you between $40,000 to $70,000 a year in salary. That doesn't count benefits, payroll taxes, or the time it takes to actually find the person and hire them. So even if you use the 40-hour plan, it is a fraction of the cost. And don't forget to use that first link down below in the description to get started today. Now, I could probably share some tips on how to actually manage your first virtual assistant, but two things I'll share without going in depth would be this. When you give them a task, expect it to take longer the first time as they're still learning it. And second, give them a time limit. So for example, if something takes me 20 to 30 minutes to do, I will allot about an hour for the VA to get it done. And I'll say something like this. Once you're an hour into the project, send me an update on what you've completed and what's outstanding. This is gonna give you a good gauge of how to manage the relationship, how much work is actually getting done, and if they're confused but they don't tell you, you could deal with that faster. Also, I do tell anyone I hire, I say something to the extent of, if one part of this job takes you longer than say 10 minutes or 15 minutes to get done, notify me so that I may be able to help you eliminate some confusion, because often there might be some type of gap in understanding of what the work is and what they're trying to do. Now, who is this for? If you are a solo operator, small business owner, or someone who has never hired a virtual assistant before and you're nervous about what happens if it doesn't work out, this is a great place to start. Having an account manager as well as the easy ability to switch if it's not working, it's all designed to lower the barrier to entry. And if you do need a US-based VA, specifically because of time zone or communication, this is a great fit. Additionally, if you do want the ability to scale the number of VAs that you have without having to look for every single one, this is a great solution. Time Etc. is decently priced for what they offer and at the same time offer a whole array of benefits of making it easy to get started, easy to change your plan, easy to cancel if you need. And if cost is a big part of your decision and you see $39 an hour and you feel like that is a bit steep, what I would say is this. Yes, you are paying per hour, but you are eliminating a lot of the upfront work to find these people, to manage them, to pay them any additional charges around that. So for example, if you hired someone in-house, but you have to pay their benefits or their payroll, even though they might be cheaper per hour, you might end up spending the same amount. And the reality is that all of these companies take about 40 to 50% of the hourly amount. Now, there might be cheaper offshore options, but when you compare it to other US-based assistant companies out there that are offering the same thing, this is one of the most affordable. Now, if you were asking for my advice, the most important thing I'd want someone to know before they start, your first match may or may not be perfect, and that's completely fine. Think about it as a calibration round. You'll learn more about what you actually need once someone starts working with you, and the second match is almost always better. So having the ability to switch without any friction is one of the most valuable parts of using a managed service like this. Why? Because hiring someone isn't just about getting the work done, it's about matching the culture, the relationships, the work ethic, all of that. If you want to get started, definitely check out that link down below. Send them your first task, get started, get into the process, and see how it goes. I'm telling you, after I started, I do not regret starting, and I still work with virtual assistants today. Use that first link down below in the description, and if you got value from this video and want to see more like this, subscribe. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below, and with that, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.